The Goths are the Gotlanders of the population of the island of Gotland. The ethnonym is related to that of the Goths, and both names were originally Proto-Germanic Gutaniz. The language is called Gutnish. Early history. The oldest history of the Goths is retold in the Gotland.The. According to legend, they descended from a man named Thjelver who was the first to discover Gotland. Thjelver had a son named Halfthi who wedded a fair maiden named Vitis-Gerna. These two were the first to settle on Gotland. Halfthi and Vitis-Gerna later had 3 children, Guti, Grape and Gunfjorn. After the death of the parents, the brothers divided Gotland into 3 parts and each took one. But Guti remained the highest chieftain and gave his name to the land and its people. In modern Swedish language, there are 2 words for the inhabitants on Gotland, Gotlanding and Gutta. All inhabitants of Gotland, regardless of their ethnicity, are Gotlanding, but one is called Gutta if one is of native descent. A DNA study conducted on the 5,000-year-old skeletal remains of 3 Middle Neolithic seal hunters from Gotland showed that they were related to modern-day Finns, while a female Farman known as Gok from a megalithic tomb in Gokum parish in Vasta Gotland on the mainland was found to be more closely related to modern-day Mediterraneans, specifically inhabitants of Cyprus and Sardinia. This is consistent with the spread of agricultural peoples from the Middle East at about that time. Gothic link. It is also related that, because of overpopulation, 1/3 of the Goths had to emigrate and settle in southern Europe. Some scholars, as for instance Wessain, Wenskus, Hoffman etc., have argued that this tale might be a reminiscence of the migration of the Goths. Over a long time, the people descended from these 3 multiplied so much that the land couldn't support them all. Then they draw lots, and every 3rd person was picked to leave, and they could keep everything they owned and take it with them, except for the land. They went up the river Dvina, up through Russia. They went so far that they came to the land of the Greeks. They settled there and live there still, and still have something of our language. The name of the Goths in Old West Norse is Gotar, which is same as that used for the Goths. Old Norse sources such as the sagas do not distinguish between the Goths and the Goths. In accordance, the Old East Norse term for both Goths and Goths seems to have been Gutta. Only the Goths and Goths bear this name among all the Germanic tribes. The fact that the ethnonym is identical to Goth may be the reason why they are not mentioned as a special group until Jordan's Getica, where they may be those who are called Vagoths. However, Ptolemy mentions the Gautars living in the south of the island of Scandia, who could be identical to the Goths, since the *ur sound in ancient Greek corresponds to the Latin and Germanic *u. Certain linguists, as for instance Oli Wessain, point out that there are similarities between Gothic and Gutnish that are not found elsewhere in the Germanic languages. One example is the use of the word lamb for both young and adult sheep, which is only seen in Gutnish and Gothic. Agreement with Swedes. Before the 7th century, the Goths made a trade and defense agreement with Swedish kings. According to the Gutta saga, this seems to have been due to Swedish military aggression. Although the Goths were victorious in these battles, they eventually found it more beneficial to try to negotiate a peace treaty with the Swedes. Many kings made war on Gotland while it was heathen, but the Goths always maintained victory and the right. Then the Goths were sending many messengers to Sweden, but none of them succeeded in negotiating a peace, till Westrabane from Alva parish. He was the first to make peace with the king of the Swedes. As he was a smooth-tongued man, wise indeed and artful, as the stories of him go, he established a fixed treaty with the Swedish king. 60 marks of silver a year, that is the tax for the Goths, with 40 for the king, out of that 60, and the Jarls to get 20. This amount had already been decided by agreement of the whole land before he left, so the Goths made a trade and defense agreement with the king of the Swedes of their own free will, that they might go anywhere in all areas dominated by the Swedes freely and unfettered by tolls or any duties. So too the Swedes could come to Gotland with no ban on the import of corn, or any other restrictions. The king was to give aid and help whenever they needed it and asked. The king would send messengers to the Gotland National Assembly, and the Jarls likewise, to collect their tax. These messengers must proclaim freedom to the Goths to travel in peace over the sea, to all places where the Swedish king held sway, and the same went for anyone traveling there to Gotland. It gives a Westerbain as the man who arranged the mutually beneficial agreement with the King of Sweden, and the event would have taken place before the end of the 9th century, when Wulfstan of Hedby reported that the island was subject to the Swedes. Merchants. Because of Gotland's central position in the Baltic Sea, from early on the Goths became a nation of traders and merchants. The amount of silver treasure that has been found in Gotlandic soil during the Viking Age surpasses that of all the other Swedish provinces counted together, which tells of a traders' nation of indisputable rank among the Norsemen. The Goths were the leading tradesmen in the Baltic Sea until the rise of the Hanseatic League. The Goths were both yeoman farmers and traveling merchants at the same time, so called Farman. This was an exceptionally dangerous occupation during the Middle Ages, since the Baltic Sea was full of pirates. The Gutnish Farman always had to be ready for battle. The division and organization of the early Gutnish society shows a nation constantly ready for war. The ram seems to have been an early symbol for the Goths, and is still seen on the Gotlandic coat of arms. Gallery.